So I was like, wait, this is completely different. I've never really done anything like this. And so it was really fun for me right away. But I realized as we shot that last scene, if you remember the episode, it had a really serious message. And I thought, this is a really nice combination, something completely different than anything I've seen or worked on before.
It's worth mentioning too, before we get too far into this, that the look of this show in season 2 is really a step upward. It's very cinematic. Every hour feels spectacular, and a huge amount of that has to do with John Cassar. One of the most talented people I've ever worked with in my life. It's for someone like me, it's very rare that you find someone that you can exhale with and trust. And I was a big 24 fan for years, and I've just been blown away by what this guy can do. He's truly one of the most gifted filmmakers I've ever encountered in my career.
So talking to the cast, I mean, you know, it's this sort of cliche, oh, we're like a family, but you guys are kind of like a family. Your first season on the show, anybody want to jump in about what this experience was like? Peter, was this your first sort of regular job on a series? I mean, yes, no? I don't know.
Like TV?
TV.
Oh, sure. Editorial things, or?
I'm just sort of asking questions about
yes.
like...
You know, I see these people more than I see my own family.
Yeah. And you like it?
That's family, you know? Not necessarily. It is my home away from home. It is my space family, my misfit toy box land, and it's such a joy to having spent this amount of time with these people that you've grown to love, and idiosyncrasies and just like habits and things that you don't like about them, things you love about them. You're like, oh, I'm not going to talk to him that day. It's Wednesday. So,
You're talking about me?
yeah,
Want to get this out right now?
I said him.
It is funny though, because I see you as Bortus.
No one knows who I am. I come to craft services, they're like, sir, can I help you? Can I help you, sir? I'm like, yeah, I just want a donut. And they're like, no, it's for cast only. And I'm like,
I'm on the show.
how'd you get on the line? I can work my way in every Wednesday. Wednesdays are my favorite days.
So when it's obviously not the hardest work in the world, but
What did you just say?
You're doing long days on the bridge. The bridge is a tough set to shoot on. You got to shoot lots of angles. You guys do anything to kill the time, make it Scotty and Jay? You guys do anything to
Jay and I
break the
came up-
tension?
Typically, Scotty and Jay, what do you do on that?
Well, we're right at the front, right?
Yeah.
So we get our close-ups out of the way right away. So we have to sit there for
Yeah.
9 hours while you all do your things. We did come up with we'd do like a TV show called John and Gordon at the Helm.
Yeah, the hell.
I'm assuming it annoys everyone behind us, but, and
We're
How
like,
does that go?
the host of like a morning show. And it's like, you're at the helm with
hey, here we are at the Helm with John and Gordon, and we have a special guest today, John.
Welcome, guys, here we're with the cast of the Orville. They're in space, doing space stuff.
Yeah,
The Bortus is still asleep?
Yeah, Bortus is sleeping. He doesn't like us today. It's Wednesday.
Bortus sleeps on Wednesday.
Classic Wednesday, Bortus.
So we just do that, and it's not funny, as you can tell.
By the way, but seriously, we do it because we take the heat of being the annoying, let's keep the energy high.
Yeah.
Because when you're on the bridge for a long
It's
time.
awful when you guys are not funny. Come on.
But it wakes you up though.
It makes me think.
There you go. So we just try to keep the energy high. Guys.
I've heard Seth on many occasions, just if we start that Helm thing, you just under your breath, I hear you go, oh my God. Not again.
And then when he does that, I go, I think we have a question from the audience.
Caller, you're live.
Penny, you like to keep the energy up as well. I noticed that when you come onto the set. I also noticed if you follow Penny on social media, she has a little ritual that she
Get my
does.
dance on.
What is that?
My morning dance on. If I wake up in the morning, I put the hair, makeup.
Can you show us? Can you show us what that
Okay, put
looks
some.
like?
Okay, give me the beat. Give me the beat. Just,
Good start.
You were in fact,
own head.
you were in Cirque du Soleil, were you not?
Good start. Good start. I dare you to stand up right now. David, what's that podium high, David? Come on, do that.
But do you guys get the joke?
You just got Orville.
Can you come to the blackboard and do this? Bro?
Yeah.
By the way, it literally says, please be aware that members of your audience may be under 18.
They know more about that than we do.
Yeah. I just discovered that just now.
I did.
Hey,
What's
Mark.
your feeling is natural, everybody, from penny dancing. It's okay, it's a part of life.
Everybody just stand up slowly, hug your neighbor.
You know, David, that could be your last question.
Yeah, I don't know that I need to do anything else.
Was there a question?
Mark, you there? So you're trapped in that costume all day. What process are you using to stay Isaac?
I tend to take a break as often as I can from being Isaac because he's so intense. Like, this guy is, it's like inhabiting the most amazingly intense skin. And obviously I'm really method, so if I did actually keep in character, these guys would be really freaked out. And as a Brit, I have a role to be quite dour and quite, keep these guys in check, because if I was really funny, I don't know, we wouldn't get any work done.
Maybe on a different show.
Mark is very funny.
I don't know. It's nice to take the helmet off now and again, which does happen as soon as I can.
I'm having trouble understanding you.
What was that?
I couldn't understand.
I'm so sorry. I shall enunciate better for you.
Because
Thank you. Adrian, you had some great moments last year. I think mostly about that episode where you're competing with Seth for Rob Lowe. One of your favorite episodes, and I think
He kind of picked you in a weird way.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rob Lowe picked me.
I think he did. I don't know how I feel about that.
All right, I'll take it. I mean, I wrote the damn thing, so I knew what I was doing. Actually, no, I didn't write that one, did I?
No, you didn't.
No, so no, thank you, Liz Elmans.
Yeah, you rewrote it.
It's not even true.
I don't know if I had a question for you, Adrian, but were there any
What is it,
favorite,
my name?
any favorite moments from last year where either you did or one of the other actors did on the show? That...
I mean, there's tons of fun moments. I think the Krill episode is probably my favorite thing. Good job, John. It's all you.
Yeah, that was a good script too.
Did you write that, David?
You wrote it.
Yeah, thanks.
I thought the rewrite of that episode was
Amazing. Saved my ass.
we're still shooting that one, right?
Yeah.
Oh, what do you mean? Oh.
That's the brother?
We really love doing the show, guys.
One of the, I'm going to ask Peter and Chad, you guys are playing a couple.
What do you mean playing?
He's a method actor.
What goes into that for you guys? This is truly one of the greatest creations of the show that Seth created, is that couple, Bordas and Clyde. I don't think we've seen anything like that on television in any film. And really it's interesting because when we auditioned other actors to play Mocklins, we show them what these guys do, and they still don't get it. Like, which means that these guys are doing something that is very hard. And I'm just curious, or. All right. You don't have to joke. All right.
Thank you.
So what
goes into
does
it?
anything go into that? Or
Yeah.
is it just instant?
Well, first and foremost, when we're in the makeup trail and we both, get into our get up, we do that dance that Penny was doing.
Go on then.
It's really hard for the makeup artist as well.
That's what goes into it. Peter and I are both classically trained actors. Peter and I, we love to play. We come from the theater. We love to play. So it's easy to go to work with this guy because it's 100% all in, and we are relying on our classical training, believe it or not. We really are relying on our classical training to really pull off what it is that we're doing. We have to be astute with language and tone and rhythm, and
That's the cool thing about what we get to do is that I feel like now, and forgive me, like I feel like I live in Seth's head in some weird way. You hear me at 3 o'clock in the morning, but I feel like he writes specifically cadence-wise, like sonically wise for these guys, and you kind of write in there, and it's all laid out for you, and like, why would you write this about me? But because it's like, I feel like he's paying attention to what we are stepping up to with the material, and it just kind of writes itself. I will say that I think Clyden shops entirely too much. I have 2 pairs of slacks.
excuse
to
me, Clyden
uniform.
normally has the best I gotta do something with that money you make.
Clyden is first to death. Like, you been shopping again? Okay.
No, I'm a fashionista.
No, you know what?
He's a fashionista.
But I want to jump in on that real quick as far as talking about approaching this from a classically trained actor. As there's a lot of jokes in it. We have the sci-fi world, but there's something that I really noticed that they do that I think is just extremely smart. One time I was talking to Peter about something random about the show, and he said, "Yeah, English is Bortus's second language." So I have to think about it as it being the language that I had to learn. And I thought about how sort of deep that was to approach a character like that. Because Seth writes, and all the writers write very sort of poetically, and you can find the rhythm and the cadence, but I thought that was a really sort of smart way to approach the character. So, as silly as the show can be, or, people maybe not understanding the depth of the 2 characters, I think the people that do get it are like, they see the work that goes into it. So I don't know, I'm a fan, so that's it.
I'll give you $100 when we get on stage.
No, but having the privilege, I guess, or the luxury of being in the room with the guy who heard it first, right? And so Seth is a wordsmith. He's like a conductor, right? And so we were, what was it? Was it yesterday? How many takes did we do last night? It's like 50 takes of four lines. And it just
I'd say it was about $50,000 worth of takes.
No, we don't have time for that. But to spend the time to get it right, and when it's right, And so, and I feel like he writes that way for all of us, like the dry sense of humor that Bortus kind of has, and Isaac's language, and John's language, and Gordon's language, all different. So, it's like herding hairless cats, and somehow or another, that feeling. Anybody hairless cats? Anybody? But it has that feeling of specificity, you know what I mean? And so when you have an opportunity to work on language like that with the person who's like, and make sure you get that. Don't say can't. Say cannot. Was that good? Anyway, it's that specific, and it's a joy. It's a joy. 23, 20, 19, 18, 17.
Oh, we're counting down. Brandon hasn't had a chance to talk. Brandon, just talk a little bit about like our process as we got to the writers' room in season 2. Like, what, you have any recollection of that? It was a while ago. But like what do you remember about how we approached it? And
For season 2?
yeah.
Well, the two huge changes were what Seth was saying earlier. The experiment was a success.
Right.
So that in season 2, the storytelling is even more assertive and bold, and really there's some daring stuff that happens, some narratively daring stuff that will really, it's just amazing to me. And I think the other main thing was when we were writing season 1, we didn't have the cast. So you're imagining who's going to be playing these roles. And once the actors get into the roles, it changes everything, the way you're approaching characters. You know, it's just a huge difference. It's such a great cast, perfectly cast.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we, I see we only have like 20 minutes left, so why don't we line up at the mics to ask questions, take some Q&A. Somebody's already there. Over there? Go ahead.
Hi. My question's for the creative team. The Orville definitely feels like a love letter to the Star Trek universe, which we definitely appreciate as fans. But you can be a fan and know not everything was always perfect. And I'm wondering if any of you saw something in Star Trek that you wanted to fix, that you pulled over to the Orville.
You know, there are two things. I mean, the first, there was never anything I thought needed to be fixed about that. I was a fan when I was a kid, and still am. But I think the absence of a version of that kind of show that does what they used to do, something that's optimistic, bright, forward-thinking, episodic, you know, that doesn't really exist right now. And so there's a space that's kind of been opened up for that kind of show to occupy, and I missed that kind of storytelling, and it was a void that I was trying to fill with this show. I think the thing that feels new to me about the way we handle this genre is that, you know, there is a certain rigidity to most shows that take place on a spaceship. There's a certain operatic quality that just kind of goes hand in hand with that genre. And I had never really seen a show, you know, The Next Generation kind of dealt with it to some degree, but a show that really kind of casualizes a lot of what goes on. Because in reality, if you were actually serving on a ship of this type, there'd be downtime where you're just kind of shooting the shit and you're just kind of slacking off and being casual. And that's something I hadn't seen. And, you know, the attempt was to sort of give this very operatic genre a sort of Albert Brooks kind of grounded tone in a way that was a hybrid that I hadn't seen. And it took us a little bit to kind of find that balance, but I feel like we did.
Thank you. And thank you for the optimism.
Hello there. So I've noticed with some shows when they first start to be marketed, they're marketed one way and then the show kind of becomes something else. And The Orville was an example of that show. So I was wondering, when the show first started, when it was marketed, then as it kind of, the season started to go, did you mean for it to kind of start very comedic and then just kind of go more dramatic, or did it just kind of happen naturally?
No, the show was always intended to be what it is now. I think the marketing spin initially, and look, I'll say this by saying, I think the work that the marketing team at Fox did on this season is stellar. I think they just did a knockout job with that trailer. Initially, the show, I think, was a little misrepresented in season 1. It was marketed as a comedy. I'm not as a hard comedy. I'm not quite sure why. I think there was, you know, maybe a little bit of worry that this was something so new and weird and different that it wouldn't land if it wasn't put into a box. And you know, it wasn't necessarily representative of the show. But the nice thing is, the fans stuck with it and they saw what we were, and what tone we were, you know, the tonal balance that we were riding, and they embraced it, which was nice to see. But I think initially the show was a little bit misrepresented.
Well, thank you very much, and I cannot wait for season 2.